What if I told you that the most iconic robot in cinema history was actually the true master all along, and the alien we thought was in charge was nothing more than a disposable servant? And what if the actor playing this terrifying 8-foot robot was so physically weak he couldn't even lift a feather, let alone the leading lady? Prepare to have your mind blown, because today we're exposing the 20 most shocking secrets behind the 1951 science fiction masterpiece, The Day the Earth Stood Still. From painful behind-the-scenes torture to government blacklists and a truth so mind-bending it'll change how you see this classic forever. But before we dive into these incredible revelations, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because you won't want to miss any of our mind-blowing content. Released during the height of Cold War paranoia, The Day the Earth Stood Still wasn't just another flying saucer flick. It was a sophisticated and daring call for peace wrapped in thrilling sci-fi storytelling. Directed by Robert Wise, it tells the story of alien visitor Klaatu and his silent robotic guardian Gort, who land in Washington, D.C. with a grave message for humanity. The chillingly calm phrase "Klaatu Barada Nikto" became legendary, but the real drama was happening behind the camera. Let's count down the most shocking secrets that will leave you speechless. Number 20. The robot was the real master. Here's a truth that completely recontextualizes everything you thought you knew about this film. We see Klaatu as the intelligent master and Gort as his loyal robotic servant. But this iconic movie is based on a 1940 short story called Farewell to the Master, and that title is far more literal than anyone could imagine. In Harry Bates's original story, the robot's name was Gnut, and the most mind-blowing twist reveals that Gnut was the actual master. Klaatu wasn't his superior at all. He was merely a biological assistant, perhaps even a disposable clone created by a race of intelligent machines to interact with organic life forms. The story's ending has the human protagonist discovering this terrifying truth when the robot finally speaks, referring to the deceased Klaatu, but making it clear that another could easily be created. The film adaptation completely reversed this dynamic, placing the humanoid alien in charge to make the story more palatable to audiences. However, the original concept presents a staggering and perhaps more frightening possibility that the true power, intelligence, and control belonged to the machine all along. But this wasn't the only shocking revelation about the mysterious robot that would leave audiences stunned. Number 19. The mighty Gort was surprisingly fragile. Gort, the silent and supposedly indestructible robot, remains the film's most terrifying and iconic figure. He was played by Locke Martin, who wasn't even an actor but an usher at Grauman's Chinese Theater, hired simply because of his astounding height of nearly 8 feet. But here's where things get absolutely shocking. Despite his imposing presence, Martin was physically incredibly weak. The Gort suit, made of foam rubber sprayed with metallic paint, was clumsy, suffocatingly hot, and nearly impossible to move in properly. Martin could only stay inside the costume for about 30 minutes at a time before risking serious health complications. In scenes where Gort had to carry Patricia Neal and Michael Rennie, Martin was completely incapable of lifting them. The crew had to use hidden wires, lightweight dummies for long shots, and clever camera angles to create the illusion of superhuman strength. During one particularly long take on the ship's ramp, Martin's muscles began cramping and spasming from the strain, and if you watch carefully, you can actually see his arms twitching involuntarily in the final cut of the film. The irony is palpable. Cinema's most feared robot was portrayed by a man who could barely function inside his own costume, but the production faced even bigger challenges when the government itself became their enemy. Number 18. The US military wanted nothing to do with it. When you're making a movie about a giant spaceship landing near the White House, you'd typically expect military cooperation. However, the producers of The Day the Earth Stood Still ran headfirst into a massive roadblock that would plague the entire production. The US Department of Defense read the script, and due to its strong anti-militaristic themes, flat out refused any cooperation whatsoever. The film's central message, that humanity's tribalism and aggression made it a threat to the broader intergalactic community, was seen as dangerously subversive during the intensely patriotic climate of the early Cold War. The Pentagon had zero interest in supporting a film that portrayed the Army as trigger-happy, misguided, and the primary obstacle to peace. Every military vehicle you see menacing the alien saucer wasn't from the Pentagon's official stock, but had to be provided through a complicated workaround involving the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment at Fort Myer. This conflict with the government underscores just how radical and controversial the film's anti-war message truly was for its time, setting the stage for decades of Hollywood versus government tension. The military's hostility was just the beginning of the production's battles with authority figures, as individual careers would soon be threatened by political witch hunts. Number 17. The Blacklist nearly took out Professor Barnhart. The 1950s represented a dark and paranoid time in Hollywood due to political witch hunts led by Senator Joseph McCarthy and the House Un-American Activities Committee. The role of the wise, Einstein-like Professor Barnhart was given to the incredibly talented actor Sam Jaffe, but his casting nearly destroyed the entire production when accusations of communist sympathies surfaced. Jaffe's name was about to appear on the infamous Hollywood blacklist, a career-ending designation that could destroy actors overnight, and studio executives were preparing to remove him entirely from the film. It was only because producer Julian Blaustein made a passionate and principled appeal directly to the powerful studio chief Darryl F. Zanuck that Jaffe was allowed to remain in the production. Zanuck, despite being staunchly anti-communist himself, reluctantly agreed to keep Jaffe after Blaustein argued for the actor's professionalism and the quality of his performance. However, the damage to Jaffe's career was already done. This would be his last Hollywood film for nearly a decade until the blacklist's power began to fade in the early 1960s. While some actors were fighting for their careers, others were making career-defining choices that would shape cinema history. Number 16. Casting an unknown to create an alien. For the crucial role of alien visitor Klaatu, 20th Century Fox initially pursued major Hollywood stars like Spencer Tracy and Claude Rains, both of whom would have brought tremendous box office appeal to the production. However, producer Julian Blaustein and director Robert Wise made a brilliant and completely counterintuitive casting choice that would prove to be genius. They deliberately rejected these famous actors precisely because they were too recognizable to American audiences, understanding that familiar faces would bring the baggage of previous roles and prevent viewers from fully believing they were watching a genuine visitor from another world. The role ultimately went to British actor Michael Rennie, who was a major star in the United Kingdom but remained relatively unknown to US audiences at the time. Rennie's classically trained theatrical diction and his dignified yet unfamiliar screen presence were absolutely perfect for the character. He truly felt like a sophisticated, superior being from an advanced civilization rather than just another Hollywood star in an elaborate costume. This casting decision set a precedent that would influence science fiction filmmaking for decades, proving that sometimes the best choice is the unexpected one. However, not everyone involved in the production appreciated the film's unique qualities during filming. Number 15. The star who thought it was a flop. It's now universally considered one of the greatest science fiction films ever made, but leading lady Patricia Neal was deeply skeptical throughout the entire production process. The genre of flying saucer movies in the early 1950s was not associated with prestige or critical acclaim, and Neal openly admitted that she found it incredibly difficult to take the script seriously. She feared the film would become just another campy, forgettable B-movie that would damage her reputation as a serious dramatic actress, and she reportedly struggled to maintain her composure while delivering lines she found ridiculous, especially the now iconic phrase Klaatu Barada Nikto. For her, this was just another paycheck, not a potential masterpiece, and she was absolutely stunned years later when the film not only became a commercial success, but was critically reevaluated as a timeless and thoughtful classic that elevated the entire science fiction genre. Her initial reaction serves as a powerful reminder that even the people creating a film don't always recognize when they're capturing lightning in a bottle. The irony becomes even more pronounced when you consider how the production used real-world authenticity to make the extraordinary seem believable. The filmmakers' commitment to realism would prove to be one of their most innovative decisions. Number 14. Blurring the lines between fiction and reality. Director Robert Wise made a critical decision to shoot the film in a realistic, almost documentary style to make the extraordinary events feel as authentic as possible. A key part of this revolutionary strategy was his casting of the on-screen journalists. Instead of hiring actors to play news reporters, he hired the genuine articles, some of the most famous and trusted voices in American journalism at the time. Audiences in 1951 would have immediately recognized the authoritative faces and voices of H.V. Kaltenborn, Gabriel Heder, and Elmer Davis from their daily radio and newsreel broadcasts. Hearing these familiar commentators describe the landing of a flying saucer with the same gravity they used for reporting on world events was an absolute masterstroke. It blurred the line between the movie's fiction and the audience's reality, making the unbelievable feel terrifyingly plausible and immediate. This technique was so effective that many viewers actually believed they were watching real news coverage mixed into the fictional narrative, creating an unprecedented level of immersion for 1950s cinema. This attention to realistic detail extended far beyond the casting choices into the technical aspects of filmmaking. Number 13. The magic of a seamless spaceship. One of the film's most memorable and mysterious visuals is the completely seamless flying saucer that seems to magically produce a ramp from its smooth, unbroken hull. There's no visible door, no seam, no handle, just a perfect metallic surface that somehow opens to reveal an entrance. In the pre-digital age of 1951, achieving this futuristic effect required pure old-school Hollywood ingenuity that would make modern CGI artists envious. The visual effects team, led by Fred Serson, knew that any visible crack would completely ruin the alien illusion they were trying to create. For the full-scale saucer prop, the crew filled the seam of the ramp's door with common putty, which was then sanded perfectly smooth and painted over with a silvery finish to match the rest of the ship's surface. When the powerful internal mechanism activated to open the ramp, it would simply split the putty, creating a perfect magical parting that appeared to come from nowhere. This simple, brilliant, and cost-effective solution perfectly captured the feel of advanced, unknowable technology that was far beyond human understanding. The film's innovative technical achievements weren't limited to visual effects. The audio landscape was equally revolutionary. Number 12. The sound of the future was invented here. Close your eyes and think of the sound of a classic UFO. That eerie, gliding, otherworldly hum you're imagining is likely the theremin, and this film is largely responsible for cementing that distinctive sound in our cultural imagination forever. Composer Bernard Herrmann, who would later create masterful scores for Psycho and Vertigo, crafted a revolutionary soundtrack that was as alien as the film's extraterrestrial visitors. He used not one but two theremins, electronic instruments played without physical contact, pitched at different frequencies to create a disorienting stereo effect that had never been attempted before. Herrmann combined this groundbreaking electronic foundation with an unusual orchestra featuring electric violin, cello, bass, various organs, and a massive percussion section. He then experimented with avant-garde techniques like overdubbing and playing tapes in reverse to craft a soundscape that was completely unprecedented in cinema. This score represented a radical departure from the lush romantic soundtracks of the era and established an entirely new musical language for science fiction that would influence composers for generations to come. The film's commitment to authenticity extended even into areas audiences would never consciously notice. Number 11. The Professor's Blackboard is Real Science. In an era when science fiction often meant rubber-suited monsters and complete pseudo-scientific nonsense, The Day the Earth Stood Still aimed for a level of scientific authenticity that was almost unheard of in Hollywood. When Klaatu, disguised as Mr. Carpenter, visits the brilliant Professor Barnhart and corrects a complex series of equations on his blackboard, those weren't just random symbols scribbled for visual effect. The production actually hired real physicists to write out genuine formulas describing the three-body problem, a legitimate and incredibly complex challenge in Newtonian gravitation. This mathematical concept deals with the chaotic and unpredictable orbits of three celestial bodies interacting with each other, essentially the core challenge for anyone attempting interstellar navigation. The film's science advisor, Dr. Samuel Herrick, a professor of astronomy at UCLA, personally ensured the equation's complete accuracy. This dedication to scientific detail, however brief its screen time, sent a powerful message that the film was serious speculative fiction rather than mindless fantasy, grounding its extraordinary events in a recognizably real scientific framework. But even the most carefully planned productions sometimes have to leave compelling material on the cutting room floor. Number 10. The deleted police station identification scene. One of the most intriguing deleted sequences from the film involved Klaatu's time in police custody, where authorities desperately tried to identify this mysterious stranger who claimed to be from another planet. The scene showed frustrated police officers and government agents attempting to fingerprint Klaatu, only to discover that his prints didn't match any pattern in their extensive databases. Even more unsettling, medical examinations revealed biological anomalies that couldn't be easily explained by conventional human anatomy. Number 9. Two different Gort suits were used. The production actually created two separate Gort costumes to solve practical filming problems, one designed for front-facing shots and another specifically for rear views. Lockheed Martin's physical limitations meant that certain angles were impossible to achieve with a single suit, so the costume department crafted specialized versions that could accommodate different camera positions and movement requirements while maintaining the character's imposing presence. Number 8. Klaatu's healing powers were inspired by religious themes. Director Robert Wise deliberately incorporated Christian imagery and themes throughout the film, most notably in Klaatu's ability to resurrect himself after being shot by military forces. This miraculous healing power was intended as a direct parallel to the resurrection of Christ, positioning Klaatu as a messianic figure who comes to Earth with a message of peace but is rejected and destroyed by humanity's fear and violence. Number 7. The film's unprecedented budget for science fiction. With a production budget of $1.2 million, The Day the Earth Stood Still was given an enormous amount of money for a science fiction film in 1951, when most genre movies were made for under $100,000. This substantial investment allowed for high production values, talented actors, and sophisticated special effects that elevated it far above typical B-movie sci-fi fare of the era. Number 6. Lock Martin was a theater usher, not an actor. Lock Martin had zero acting experience when he was cast as Gort. He was literally working as an usher at Grauman's Chinese Theater when scouts discovered him. His only qualification was his extraordinary height of nearly 8 feet, which made him perfect for the imposing robot character despite his complete lack of performance training. Number 5. The spaceship interior was built on a rotating platform. The seamless, futuristic interior of Klaatu's spacecraft was constructed on a rotating platform that allowed cameras to capture smooth, otherworldly movement without visible seams or traditional film cuts. This innovative technique created the illusion of advanced alien technology while working within the budget constraints of early 1950s filmmaking. Number 4. Klaatu Barada Nikto has no official translation. Despite decades of fan speculation and analysis, the famous phrase Klaatu Barada Nikto was created as pure alien gibberish with no intended meaning. The screenwriter deliberately avoided giving it a specific translation, allowing audiences to imagine their own interpretation of this mysterious command that stops the mighty Gort from destroying humanity. Number 3. The film was shot in documentary style for maximum realism. Robert Wise employed documentary filmmaking techniques throughout the production, using handheld cameras, natural lighting, and realistic locations to make the fantastic elements feel grounded in reality. This approach was revolutionary for science fiction cinema and helped establish the film's lasting credibility and impact. Number 2. It influenced every major science fiction franchise. The Day the Earth Stood Still became the template for intelligent science fiction filmmaking, directly inspiring everything from Star Trek's peaceful exploration themes to Star Wars' mystical elements. Gene Roddenberry, George Lucas, and countless other creators have acknowledged this film's profound influence on their work. Number 1. The original ending was much darker. The film's final warning about humanity's violent nature was originally much more ominous and threatening in early script drafts. Klaatu's parting message was intended to be far more dire, essentially promising humanity's complete annihilation if they couldn't control their aggressive tendencies. The studio softened this ending to make it more palatable to audiences, but the original version would have left viewers with a much more chilling final impression, from a physically weak robot to politically charged sets and secrets about who was truly in control. The story behind The Day the Earth Stood Still proves as compelling as the film itself. It's a testament to the power of brave filmmaking and a message of peace that resonates even more strongly today. If you discovered something shocking today, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible behind-the-scenes secrets from Hollywood's greatest films.